All right, everybody. So for our first project that we'll be doing as PGT photography is we'll be exploring something called composition types. Now, when I say that, you may have some ideas in your head already of what that is, but to kind of explain it in simple terms, people who are really, really good at photography have patterns to the way that they take their pictures, and they don't take their pictures exactly the same every time because there are many different ways to take a really strong photograph. So this is about learning what those ways are of getting the best photos that you possibly can. So some examples you can see on the screen, that pink flower, for example, you could take a picture really close to it. You could take a picture really far away. You could take a picture at the base of the stem looking up. And it's all those different really interesting ways that make photographs cool to look at, right? You can do close-ups of things. You can do things really far away. You can find patterns in things like those leaves at the bottom. So it's just about learning what are the ways that I can use to make my photographs really, really visually interesting. This is very much about creating visual intrigue in your pictures. We do have to talk about, in terms of nature photography, PGT is very much about exploring nature. So the genre that we're doing is nature photography. So that brings up the issue of people in photographs. There are really strong ways to use people to enhance your images and enhance that sense of the beauty of nature. And then there's sort of cliche ways. So that picture on the left of the cliff, the person helps you understand how big and beautiful that cliff is. They give you that scale. If they weren't there, it might be hard to tell. So that's actually a really good use of putting a person in a photo. The two boys who are trying to wash the cow is another good example. Yes, the picture is about the boys, but it's also about them in nature with this animal. It tells a story, so people can really be used to tell a story, make a picture look really interesting. The one on the right of the field, it's that figure in that kind of vast landscape that make it really, really beautiful. It brings your attention to the hill and the clouds and the colors, right? Now the figure at the top of the woman kind of with her hands on her chest, I would say that is not a good example of using people in nature photography. The picture has nothing to do with the background or what's around her. It's really just about her looking pretty. So when you're thinking about taking photos that are nature based, you want to try to avoid kind of the person posing in nature. But I want to make sure you know you can have people in your pictures. It's just how you use them in this genre. The one on the very bottom of the figure, the woman, again, it's a very pretty model, but she's obscured by nature. She's in this landscape. So I think that's a better example of using a person, but really concentrating on the beauty of nature when you take a photo. So just something to think about as you're going to take your own photos. If there are going to be people, what is the role of those people? Now, in terms of the quarter, there are 10 classic patterns or ways that people who are really good at photography set up their pictures. And we're going to be working on 2 a week. So this week, we're going to be talking about rule of thirds, which is the first one at the top. And we're going to be talking about framing, which is the third one. Now, you're going to be learning about 2 composition types this week. And then as the weeks progress, you'll be learning more and more. This week, we're just learning about 2 of them. One is called the rule of thirds. This is a pretty simple one to think about. It's basically if you divided your picture up into thirds, into little chunks, the subject is off center. So it hits either the right third or the left third. It is not in the middle. So you can see the lighthouse is the main subject and it's off to the right of the third of the picture. Here's some more examples. You can see that cat. Again, it's not in the center. It's off to the right. The picture of the Statue of Liberty, the Statue of Liberty isn't in the middle, it's off to the left. So it's just that idea of if you take your subject, say the picture of the little girl on the beach, and just put her slightly off center, you have a much more interesting picture. The second one you'll be learning about this week is called framing. And this one's really easy to understand. It's basically that your subject, whatever you're taking the picture of, has something around it that brings the focus in. So for the picture on the right, you have this kind of beautiful view of a lake with trees, but it's framed by a window that you're looking through. The one on the left is kind of a boat in a lake, but it's framed by these really bold, black, foresty kind of shapes. So it's almost kind of framed out in a kind of a triangular shape by those trees. So it's just that idea of you have a subject, but there's something around it that's bringing your focus in. Here's another example. This one, the subject is the two people walking, but the bridge is framing them out. And you can see that the picture is actually mostly the frame of that bridge. So it brings your focus in when you do see through the bridge to the silhouette of the two figures. It just brings your focus to the subject. I just want to close today with a couple safety tips. We're in I would say pretty dangerous times when it comes to getting close to people, going out of our homes. So when you go to do the assignment, do not put yourself at risk of getting close to anybody where you could potentially get sick. So if you choose to go into nature to take the pictures, make sure to keep appropriate distance from anyone you bump into. If your nature is your front yard or your backyard or the flower pot on your balcony, that works too. We're going to be very flexible this quarter. If it ends up that you really can only take pictures inside your home and they don't exactly fit the genre of nature photography, that is okay. If you cannot take any pictures at all, you do not have a camera, that includes a cell phone or a regular camera, that is also fine. All you have to do is you'll be going on to say a basic Google search and looking for examples of the two composition types and putting those in your journal. So it's more fun if you can take the picture, but that allows you to pass the assessment and pass the class. So run into any trouble, please let me know. And as you're taking your two pictures, the framing and the rule of thirds, make sure to keep those 3 rules in mind, thinking about the light, thinking about your focus, and thinking about not shaking as you take the picture. So I can't wait to see what you come up with.